Hello YouTube and welcome back to the channel outside the target demographic. Today we're going to be doing an oil change on the Honda ST1100, so let's do it. Step number one, go for a 308-mile drive. I had added some of the seafoam additive to both the oil and the gas, and wanted to make sure that I put a couple hundred miles on it. In this case, 300 miles is about the capacity before I hit reserve on this guy. So the gas has gone through the carburetors and everything. The oil has plenty of time to have that do its work as well. And we're going to go ahead and do, hello Anara, the oil swap. So first thing we'll need to do is check your car for cats. Why are you up there? Hi, bud. Bring me... Oh, yes. Oh, my goodness. You are so useless. You are so useless. Why are you on my car? All right. We're going to want the side stand there and the center stand there. So let's do it. All right. So the center stand is down. Side stand is up and apparently needs greased. So if you see something small like that, go ahead and knock it out while you're here. The next thing, we need to take off the shroud here to get better access to the oil refill. These are 5mm 1/2, and this is all the way over here so I don't step on it. That's going to give me access to my oil refill, so we're going to go ahead and pop that. So that's where we're going to be retopping it off. I'm just going to give it a little rotation. Next up, we need to get to the drain plug and the oil filter. But before that, the step is wear pants you don't care about, probably a shirt you don't care about, because with oil, Murphy's Law, it's going to get everywhere, and it is better to have dressed for it ahead of time. So let's go ahead and see. I'm pretty sure I don't need to drop this, but let's get under there and find out. On the left side of the bike, right about here, is going to be the oil filter. So we have to remove a couple of these to drop just the left-hand side of this maintenance pan. It is the same 5mm that was used to remove this guy on the other side. And you'll see your filter is right there. I'm going to drain the oil first and catch it as best I can before we go after that filter. Ooh, lens flare right there. Beautiful. Let's go ahead and pop the filter off. And of course, by pop the filter off, I meant pop the oil drain port. So you saw where it was. It's going to be right under there. It's going to be that guy dead center of the screen. According to the internet, you just have to pop it loose, maybe a full rotation or two, then you can finger loosen it. We will be draining 10W40, adding 10W40, and we have pH 6017 alpha for our filter. So let's pop it and drain it. With a 17mm, I got it loosened. I'm going to attempt to feel around for it. It's right there. I'm going to be pushing in towards the rear tire, towards the engine, to prevent it from popping like a champagne cork, hoping it'll start dribbling and I'll be able to move the pan in the way. So I can't do this two-handed. You're gonna have to trust me. Turns out I can do this two-handed, so I'm going to loosen it while pushing in until it's free, and then pop it. And of course it did. Get your hands all up in that hot oil. Put that in a place where it won't roll. Let it drain. Clearly, my time was not wasted today. I don't know how old this oil is. I know I have been garage keeping this bike for about 4 years now. Ran it around the block maybe twice a year. Not great maintenance on it. To tiny humans under the age of 4, what I recommend, takes up a lot of time, turns out. So we're going to be doing right by her. We went for a 308, I believe, mile drive today along the Lake Erie. Went to Geneva on the Lake, over to Vermilion, Wouldn't recommend. Naturally, I would have to be going through Cleveland. I'm not a fan of cities, especially with a 700-pound motorcycle doing 4 miles an hour with a rather stiff clutch when you're doing 4 miles an hour. When the Browns would start playing, so everyone, and I mean everyone, thousands of people walking down the street, through the street, middle of the street, dumbasses. So that was less than fun. I really don't need to do the trip again. But I put this girl through its paces. I did a little bit faster than the speed limit. And some twisty windies. And on the tank up, I got 43 miles per gallon. So 7.5 gallon tank, 40 miles per gallon. You're looking at 320 miles on a completely depleted tank. So she can go for a while. She's built to do so. And she'll do 0 to 60 in 4.4 seconds, according to the internet. She's not a slouch. Heavy girl, but not a slouch. So as this is draining, I'm going to keep talking your ear off. I'm also going to grease and probably penetrating oil the side stand and center stand while we're waiting here. A trick I learned online: pull this out, use your side stand to hold it out of the way, and now you can get to your oil filter. You will want to slowly remove that filter, let it weep along the engine. Do it too quickly and it's going to hit these very, very hot mufflers that if they aren't hot now, they will be the next time you take it for a ride. So by doing it slowly, it will weep along the side of the engine instead of water falling and splashing all over this plastic, which will then be heated indirectly by the mufflers and or splattering on the mufflers, which will be directly heated by the mufflers the next time you take it for a ride. So let's not do that. We're going to let it weep, and then we'll take it off. Use some rubbing alcohol to spray to degrease. Honestly, it's not in terrible shape. It is a 1997. It is currently 2023, so she's old enough to drink. She's 26 years old. I am the third owner, so the condition isn't the greatest, but the price was great. $2,400 for a sport touring bike with bulletproof reliability, used by the, I believe, British Police Department. Great two-up. I've taken it tail the dragon out to the Outer Banks. I've been coast to coast on 2 wheels by the age of 26. So a great, fantastic bike, especially for the price. I can, as I said, 0 to 60 in 4.4 seconds, not pocket rocket speeds, but I have 100 horsepower on tap with a 700-pound motorcycle getting 44 miles per gallon with enough storage to run to the grocery store. Fantastic bike. So all that to say, we got a little bit of a darker oil there. So again, definitely worth taking the time to do this today. Let's let it weep and then pull it. Good practice to go ahead and put some oil in this. I would say fill it up, but this is going to be loaded horizontally, so a little bit's going to drip out. I'm probably going to half fill it. And then O-rings never put on dry. We're going to go ahead and dip my finger in. I imagine I'm going to miss because that's what I do. So I'm going to apply a little bit of a film around the ring before we reconnect that up. Not to make a liar out of myself, we are halfway full and I did miss. So we're going to go ahead, apply a little bit of film around it. That's going to give you a better seal, which is kind of what you're looking for when it comes to your engine oil. We're going to let that get absorbed by the pleats in there. I'm probably going to add a little bit more. I do not want to not put that back in, so we're going to go ahead and put that in right now. Before I put this in, I do want to show you there is a washer on here. So could separate in the oil bath. As you saw, it kind of sunk to the bottom and clogged the hole, and a bunch of oil started pooling. And you may or may not have seen that there was a washer, and or the washer could have stuck to the engine as the bolts came out. So just make sure you do have a washer, relocate it, re-secure it, and retighten it back in. I wanted to show you, we finger tighted the bolt, and you can see I did get a little bit on the exhaust. So finger tight as far as you can go, giggity. And that is to prevent you from stripping or rounding out something that you're not supposed to. Do not use power tools. Do not use a torque wrench until you get that nice and snug. Then use a torque wrench. The internet says 28 foot-pounds on this guy. The forums say nice and snug. So we're going 28 foot-pounds. Back to the new oil filter. I'm going to top that, well, halfway that. Started at halfway, it's now at a quarter. So I'm gonna add another little bit to get that to halfway. We're gonna screw it into place, and then we can start filling the oil fill port right here with the remainder. Well, that wasn't fun. You can see, dirty rag. We wiped up as best we could. New filter is in place. What I'll recommend to you is I used one hand, just my thumb was pushing inwards on it, and my other hand was twisting it, screwing it into place. Luckily, there's really no other extension, shall we say, underneath there. The only thing it can screw onto is the thing it has to screw onto. So you're good there. And then this little air vent kind of affords you a way to look in there, if it would focus, to look in there and see what you're doing with your two hands. So you're gonna make a mess, especially if you half fill it like I did. Would still recommend. Go ahead and wipe up what you can, and we are good. We're sealed at the bottom. Let's go ahead and fill from the top. This side is all buttoned up. Side stand has been lubed, as has the center stand. It is now out of the way. Let's go back to the other side. What I'll recommend is a water bottle, a dry water bottle. Fits quite nicely. Shabow. Oh, look at that. Didn't even let it go. Beautiful. We'll do that. We're going to start filling it till we get to 3.5 liters, I believe. And then we're looking at that sight glass that I need to clean to make sure that we get the level correct. You're going to want to aim for in between that one and that one, those two lines there. The higher the better. I'm going to try and go just below the top one, but overfilling it sucks. So if you don't think you can get it dead on, just get it close enough, and let's do it. That sight glass is just deep enough in there that you can't get to it with your fingers. So I used an extension, put this on the end of it, douched it a little bit, and now you can see it's a little bit cleaner. I wedged my flashlight here into place so I can see it a little bit better. We're gonna start with 3.5 liters and top it off from there. As helpful as it is that they give you some semblance of meter, I'm a little gun shy with overfilling this. I had a similar issue with the Subaru from the ashes of the Subaru thing. This is used on the Subaru thing. It is essentially 1 liter capacity. So I'm gonna go ahead and fill this 3 times and then go to half, right? And now I know I have 3.5 liters in there, and I know I can add from there. So let's do it. So we have 1, 2, and 3. Puts us at 3 liters. Should start indicating at 3.5, I believe. And that appears to be the case because I'm not seeing anything. So we're going to go for the half. The other benefit of using a secondary container is 1, you can make sure you measure it out correctly, and 2, it's much easier to return some of the overfill on this back to the parent case than trying to siphon it back out of your engine. So I know I'm putting 500 milliliters in. I can pre-measure, predetermine, and return back what I put in excess of, and now we can add that to the engine. All right, so with 3.5 in there, it should be indicating on the glass And it is, we are about halfway between the two lines, but that's with the cold engine. We know that the oil filter still has some capacity because I only filled it halfway. Some of it dripped out because I filled it halfway and then turned it sideways. Turns out that's how you lose oil. So we know that there's enough oil in there for it to be ran safely. I'm now going to cap the engine oil fill. I'm going to run the engine for about a minute or two, let it sit for about 5 minutes, let the oil go to where it needs to go, fill where it needs to fill, and then we will check and top off the oil as we need to. Choke on in neutral. We're going to start it up. We're only going to do it for about a minute and then kill it. Okay. Gonna come back over here. We are gonna let it sit for a bit, but initial indications show that it went down. So that is why we check the sight glass before we run the engine. So now we know it consumed a little bit of oil. It put it in some places that isn't indicating, but we did just kill the engine 20 seconds ago. So I'm going to let this sit for 5 minutes. We'll come back, we'll check it, and top it off if we need to. About 5 minutes later, we're still showing nothing. So I'm going to add another 500 milliliters and see what we got. Another 500 milliliters in. We're doing good. I think I'm going to leave it at that. I'm going to set an alarm for a week from now, and I may add another 100 or 200 milliliters, but that is in between the two lines, which I need. It's not black like it was, so we're already doing substantially better. And that's about all there is to it. So it took a 5mm Allen, a torque wrench, a 17mm socket, catch pan, and that's kind of it. So relatively simple to do. I wouldn't fathom what the price at a dealership would be. I want to say they charge like $125 an hour, something like that. And not all of them are qualified to handle an oil change. So relatively simple, relatively cheap, simple enough to do. And hope I helped someone out there to do the thing. So as always, this is outside the target demographic. I appreciate you guys stopping by, and I will catch you guys in the next video.